Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Jeremy Corbyn says a Labour government would ban companies from paying dividends to their shareholders unless they pay all their workers the living wage. The Labour leader used his first major speech of the year to attack the Conservatives, saying they were running the state into the ground. He also reiterated his commitment to renationalise the railways. Our economics editor, Paul Mason, has this.
At the heart of Labour politics is the Fabian Society, named after a Roman general famous for not attacking. But with Labour attacking itself, Jeremy Corbyn's supporters want him to start attacking the government. And that's what he did.
The Right Honourable Jeremy Corbyn, MP.
Armed with an autocue, Mr Corbyn first attacked the Conservatives.
We built council housing, we created the Open University, we instituted the Human Rights Act and the Equalities Act and the minimum wage. And we're the party founded by the trade unions and organisations that deliver fairness in the workplace. Anyone can wrap their policies in the language of fairness. Only Labour has delivered it.
And then he attacked big business, promising to ban dividend payments by corporations who don't pay the living wage. Jeremy Corbyn, very much here on the agenda he wants to be on. Housing, jobs, wages, and at least half of the audience standing up to applaud him. But he's got one more thing to do, and that is persuade them on the issue of Trident and defence.
When people are eating their cornflakes in the morning, they're talking about their wages, their jobs, their housing situation, their children. They're not talking about Trident. And I understand it's important to Jeremy, but I think that he should focus more on the issues that affect people on a day-to-day level. And that was why I was really delighted to see him focus on that in this speech today.
Employers slammed Corbyn's promise to veto dividends, and so did the Lib Dems.
Well, we got the Tories bashing the trade unions. Now we've got Jeremy Corbyn bashing the shareholders. This is going back into the 19th century in class warfare, and it will undermine us for new jobs in the 21st century.
Tonight, Jeremy Corbyn arrived in Scotland to address the Unite trade union conference. In a detailed speech, he yet again failed to mention the issue of Trident, but it's one Labour members cannot ignore.
Well, I'm joined now by Labour MP and Shadow Home Office Minister Sir Keir Starmer. You called today in your speech for Labour to adopt a radical outward-looking programme for the future. Is Jeremy Corbyn the man to deliver that?
Well, we spend all of our time talking about personalities. We should be talking about projects. What I was calling for is a bold, radical and ambitious project. And I was pointing out that when Labour adopts a project like that, we win. We won in 45, we won in 64, we won in 97, with a project that actually speaks to the people.
But when you're talking about the need for a bold project, your leader is talking about renationalising the railways. I mean, could you two be any further apart?
Well, what Jeremy Corbyn today was doing, in fairness, was to put a number of ideas on the table about real policy.
But are they forward-looking?
He's right about that. Well, take the living wage. There is far too much inequality in pay in this country. That's not good for people on low pay. It's not good for business. There's plenty of evidence to show that business really thrives when they pay people properly and treat them properly. So it's quite right, I think, for Jeremy Corbyn to put those ideas to the party, to the wider public. I think most people would say there ought to be more equality.
But business has already said it's not good for them, the idea that they'd somehow be banned from paying dividends to their own shareholders. That sort of intervention, they could just not back it.
But I think it's very important for the Labour Party to talk to business and those that run businesses. And I think in the end, what we need to do is to be absolutely clear about what we want to achieve and to talk to everybody involved about how we get there. Now, there are different types of businesses, different sizes, different ways of running a business. We need to understand that. This shouldn't be something that's done to business. It's something which we need to talk to business about. Whether dividends is the right way, whether some other way, I think is part of the debate. But is Jeremy Corbyn right to have started that debate? Yes, he is. We now have to think about what's the best way of achieving better equality of pay.
But your own contribution to the debate today is constantly talking about moving forward. He talks about, you know, the state being annihilated by the Conservatives and public services being annihilated. You are saying there is no point trying to take public services back to 2010. There's no point trying to reflate public services. It sounds that you are opposed on points of principle to so many things of what Jeremy Corbyn is saying.
I think we have to understand...
But is that true or not?
No, we have to understand. Jeremy's broken open a space for us to think about the future. I am absolutely convinced that we will only win if we do have a project that speaks to people and that actually glimpses the future, where we're talking about the 2020s and the 2030s. Far too much of our time is spent on the micro-tactics of the here and now. We need to think long-term, and we need something that speaks in a way that most people in this country think, I want to be part of that.
But, I mean, Mr. Corbyn lost 3 members of his front bench team after one of the longest reshuffles in history. I mean, that's not looking ahead to 2020, 2030, is it?
Well, look, the leader of the Labour Party, leader of any party, is entitled to reshuffle his team. There's nothing wrong with that. It could have been done a lot more quickly. I think Jeremy would
Is it over?
accept that. I think it's over. I don't know. But I think Jeremy accepts that it could have been done more speedily. But is he entitled to shuffle his pack? Of course he is, just like any other leader.
I mean, you shared a platform today with Lisa Nandy and Dan Jarvis, and many are saying this looked like early hustings for the next leader of the Labour Party.
We shouldn't concentrate on personalities. Labour will not win without a project that speaks to the people. That is what we need. And it's far more important than the personalities in this.
But very briefly, what part of Jeremy Corbyn's offering is a big, bold, radical project as far as...
Well, he's talking about equality or better equality of pay. Now, we may agree or disagree on his proposed method, but he's absolutely right to focus on that. I think a lot of people are very concerned about that. There are other issues, but that's a very good place to start. And at least we're talking about policies now, not just having an internal squabble.
Can I just ask you, as former DPP, we've seen a couple of really concerning cases involving historical allegations of sexual abuse. First, the case against the late Lord Janner finally being dropped. No trial of the facts. Is that the right decision?
Well, I think the Lord Janner case is very difficult from start to finish. I've tried not to comment because I don't think it's helpful to the current DPP for the ex-DPP to be commenting. But by and large, in this country, we don't have trials of people who are dead, and that's a good thing. It's very difficult for the victims. I completely understand why they want to have their day in court. I think it's very important now they're heard in the longer standing inquiry.
Sorry to push you, but in the case of Lord Bramall, 92 years old, had 20 officers raid his home. The CPS have now said there's insufficient evidence to push forward with the prosecution. You know, when you were DPP, you talked about the shift, you know, in favour of listening to alleged victims, of saying we believe what you're saying. I mean, his case, the case of others like him, is that just the unfortunate consequence of that shift?
Well, I can't comment on his particular case. Most cases that are investigated and prosecuted end in convictions, and we mustn't fall into the trap of just looking at the high-profile cases. There are very many other cases day in, day out.
Keir Starmer, thank you very much for joining us.